take a moment and just close our eyes and go deep within. Another deep breath. Feel the holiness within you. It's within you. It's deep within you. And as you do that with your next breath, help me to prepare sacred space by spreading the energy around this room, knowing that all of our guardians, our guides, our master teachers, the ascended masters, and the angels are with us. Feel the presence. Feel how special you are. Feel how you are within sacred space. This room, this community, within yourself. Spirit, we thank you for all the blessings, the ability and the opportunity to take physical form. We appreciate the emotions as they come up. We appreciate them as they go. We appreciate each and every experience that informs us. And we are thankful. We are deeply, deeply thankful to be having the physical experience. And so it is. Welcome to Sacred Space. I'm Reverend Patricia Roller. You might get a couple of new faces today. Hey, you know what date it is? Right, and what do we say? Happy Father's Day!
Thank you.
Listen, thank you to all the male energy that comes into this planet. Whether you have father or child. Oh.
You know NASCAR's on right now.
I know, and look at it.
And I'm here.
I know. What's that? So whether you have fathered a child or not, thank you for your male energy on this planet. You know, we're androgynous, really. So we have male and female, and we choose. I'm not suggesting you believe this, okay? But I believe that we choose in our incarnations whether to be male or female. So I chose female this time. I've had many lives where I was male. So thank you for your male energy, and thank you for your fathering of our children. Okay, as you get your gift ready for sacred space, we do our giving on the front side like we do everything in our lives. On the front side, right up front. So let me share some announcements. This Wednesday is Night of the Mystics with me, and that's at 6:30, and I'm going to be talking about divination. Does everyone know what divination is? Okay, it's not fortune telling. So just letting you know, there's many different forms of divination. If you look up divination on Google, it will give you A through Z, all the different ways to divine. So it's amazing. I'll bet you there's probably 1,000 different ways that's listed just on Google alone. It's just amazing. So I'm going to go over that, and I'll see where Spirit leads me. If we have enough time, I might do a little hands-on for a couple people. It won't be tea leaf reading. I do tea leaf reading, but I'll probably do something else. So, and then Saturday. Wow, 10 to 5 is our summer solstice, and that's going to be here and upstairs. And we have a lot of different vendors with that have different practices like tarot and massage and what else? Somebody help me out. What's some of the other? Huh? Reiki, yeah. And soul art, and I don't know. There's too many to even think about. And it's been amazing because this last week, you know, we kind of had a time frame, but we've had more vendors come in this last week. So, and we are advertising in the Statesman Journal and doing other things. So if you decide to come and the parking lot is full, we have permission from the owner. We have this parking lot over here that we can utilize. So
That will be
we're
vendor
very excited
parking.
about that. Huh?
That will be vendor parking to start with.
Yeah, that'll be vendor parking to start with. And then so it goes from 10 to 5, free hot dogs from 12 to noon, free admission. Most of the services are $10 for a session. The sessions vary depending on the service. And if a vendor has something different, they'll let you know that it's not the $10 price. So we're very excited about that. We have only had a couple of months. We got this idea and we decided to do it, and we only had a couple of months to prepare. So we'll see how it goes. There'll be a lot of lessons learned, I'm sure, and then in winter we'll do a winter solstice as well. On next Sunday, we're going to have a solstice communion. So it's the balance. It's when the Oak King gives over his crown to the gosh, I can't even think of the tree, the king anyway. Right now it's escaping. But anyway, in pagan, it's the changing of the crowns. It's a balance of fire and water, and it's a wonderful thing in our lives. So I'll be giving the service. We'll have a communion up here, and we'll have water from John of God, blessed water from John of God. So if you are familiar with him in Brazil, he's a great healer. Okay, and then July 4th, if you don't have any plans, come over to the Roller House. We're going to have a potluck, and we're just going to have fun, and we live out in Almsville, so everyone's invited. Oh no! But we did have a big field to park in, and so
We live in Almsville, so everyone's invited.
I know. Well, I know, you kind of needed a bridge, didn't you, there? So, but I was just thinking, everyone's invited. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? So, but yes, please come and just bring a dish to share. And then if you want to stay when it gets dark, Steve has you have fireworks, right? And we'll do fireworks out there. So, all legal fireworks. So over there, by the coffee area, Bruce is going to bring it up. Thank you. If you look back, Bruce, hey, I missed the beat there. Can you hold it up again?
No, it's heavy.
So if you look at, that's our food barrel.
Oh.
So please, if you would like to bring non-perishables, and don't forget things like toilet paper, things like that. That basket is for our community. Okay, because we all come up on hard times sometimes, and there's bags in there. So look, here's the dealio, as Laura Lee used to say. There is only love in this community and no judgment. So if you need food or anything else, there it is. Don't hesitate. Nobody's looking at you. Nobody cares. This is a loving community. All right. So avail yourself of that. In August, Alejandra is coming. Alejandra Claire. And she did Rainbow Rays, of healing. So she was with us once, and she's coming back, and she's going to be doing some different things. She's going to be doing some levitation, teaching us some levitation, teleporting. I don't know, maybe she will. We're like, hey, okay, teleportation, those sorts of things that may be a little bit outside your comfort zone, but they are the mystical things, and so they really push open your awareness. And that, if you are interested, you need to register by July 3rd for the $150 early bird fee, and that will be the Friday, the second Friday and Saturday, all day in August. Okay, I think that's it. We are still taking membership. We're going to have membership in July. If you're interested, the membership forms are back there, as well as the frequently asked questions. And now, Bruce, can you bring me up the basket? Did all the men here get a ticket? Is there anyone who didn't get a ticket? Okay, so I had ordered some kind of cool things, and they didn't come in yet, so I apologize. But I'm going to draw the tickets anyway, and I suspect they'll be in by next Sunday, so I'll be giving them out next Sunday. So I'm going to draw 4 tickets. Bless you. 446. Oh, okay. I don't know. Okay, I have a pen up here. I'm just going to write your names down on this so that I have that. So, okay, 446, 445.
I got it.
Steve, okay. 437? 437. Anybody? Bruce, is that you?
Nope.
Okay, so,
Oh.
okay.
Modest one. Glasses on so I can see.
Makes a world of difference.
And 440.
Michael.
Oh.
Michael,
Yeah.
someday you're gonna make me real proud, huh?
That's
Grandmother and all that, right? Happy Father's Day, buddy. Okay. Oh, we have a lot of awkward moments here. Okay, so I think that's about it, and now we're going to have special music led by Kerri Haworth, Father's Eyes.
So, my dad walks differently in the world today than he did when I was growing up. And I have an immense amount of gratitude and love and respect for him, where he has come, and he's been a great inspiration for me. So this is for him. I might not be everybody's dream of a colored girl, and my face may not grace the might of everyone in the world, but that's all right as long as I can have one wish I pray. When people come into my life, I want their words to say, she has her father's eyes, her father's eyes, eyes that find the good in things when good is not around, eyes that find the source of help when help just can't be found, eyes full of compassion that see beyond the pain, knowing that beyond it all there's much that we can gain. Just like my father's eyes, my father's eyes, my father's eyes, loving and wise, my father's eyes. In some ways, we all will mirror all the things we have done. Good or bad, they all come back, reflecting what we become. And if you're called to stand and tell just what you see in me, more than anything I know, I want your words to be, she had her father's eyes, her father's eyes, eyes that find the good in things when good like my Father's eyes, my Father's eyes, my Father's eyes, loving and wise, my Father's eyes, my Father's eyes, my Father's eyes, loving and wise, my Father's eyes, my Father's eyes.
You know, it happens like every time. Every time we get a solo or a lead song like that, I'm back there thinking, gosh, am I going to be able to hold it together? So, Kerri, that was beautiful.
Absolutely.
Oh, I don't know. I am going to talk about sacred geometry, but you know, one of the things that you realize when you're up here, when you're giving service, is about being flexible. Whew. And you can have everything all laid out, and you've got this great message, and then Spirit moves you to do something a little different. So, I don't know. Maybe I will do something different today. We'll see. But you reminded me about, you know, dads. What we think about what dads should be, and what dads usually, or sometimes really are. Oh, okay. So, you know, in this newsletter I talked about my dad and the prior one about my mom, and I'm really very open. You know, I wasn't always very open, but I'm really very open now about my parents and how, you know, they were both they were alcoholics, and it was really just a tough life. We were really, really poor, and but we had so much love. Even during the abuse and everything else, there was this love. You know, there was Dad taking me down the pathways, the woodland pathways, and picking wintergreen berries. You ever had wintergreen berries? They're like the best, just the best. They pop in your mouth, and they just fill your whole mouth with this essence of wintergreen. And I remember, you know, Daddy's Hands. Remember that song, Daddy's Hands? Yeah, because I remember being really little, and this is how I would walk. Remember when you're really little, your hands are up like that, and us walking everywhere, because often we didn't have a vehicle. And, you know, I don't know what goes through, but I can tell you as a parent how often I must disappoint my children. You know, that's just the way it is. But how often we don't disappoint our children. That's the amazing journey. And that's the place of being in non-judgment of our parents, of others, and of ourselves. So I'm not going to talk about, and I had no plan to talk today about like the golden spiral or, you know, the star tetrahedron or any of that sort of sacred geometry. What I wanted to talk about was the sacred geometry of ourselves. And that kind of leads in because there's the idea in sacred geometry of unity dividing while maintaining its unified state. The idea of unity dividing while maintaining its unified state. So let me give you an example of that. So unity, if you think about spirit, spirit is potential, all right? And really spirit and sometimes is a sort of, we might even think latent potential, that which is there but is not actualized, all right? It's not visible yet, but it has all that potential. And then through the division of itself, it becomes aware of itself. So if you think about in fertilization, human conception, you have the egg. And the egg, right, the ovum, is potential. It's not activated until the sperm comes in and creates the fertilization, right? And then what happens? Anybody knows what happens from there? It starts to dividing, right? Dividing by two. Amazing. until 8. Yes. And so it does this process of dividing, but it maintains its perfect unified state. And this is where we're at with spirit. This is where we're at when I think about, about my dad. I am a product of my father. When I look out in the world, I look out with my father's eyes, as well as my mother's, as well as Patricia's. And it's an amazing thing to realize that above and beyond that, there's a unity which underlies everything. We felt it Friday night, for those of you who were in the psychic class. There was almost 40 of us in there. And anybody want to talk about, what was the energy feeling like when you first got in there? It was kind of like this, wasn't it? People didn't really know each other. There was people there that, others didn't know. So there was this energy that was going on. And then, what happened? It started to lift, didn't it? Lift. And by the end, what were we feeling? Connected, right? And deep love for each other. That unified state, once again, even though we're individuals. So how do we, in a normal, in our everyday life, how do we get to a unified state? How do we stay in our unified state with each other? Suspend judgment. Right? Suspend judgment. You are vehicles of perception. You just can't believe everything you see. Everything you see is not everything that you know. Some of the major counseling that I do is to teach people about their sacred patterns. And that is that, just because your eyes tell you something that you're seeing, that is not necessarily what is going on. That is not necessarily what is truly happening. You don't know people's stories. You can only imagine through your perception what is happening. And what happens, right? You make a story about it, and there becomes judgment. And now you've created another pattern. Yeah? So it's about staying in the sacred pattern for yourself. It's about not going into that room in your house that says, I'm not enough. That room is a room of lies and untruths. You are always enough. Everyone is always enough. You can't help it. You can't help it. You're the divine. You're the divine father. You're the divine mother. You're the divine child. How do you remember that? How do you remember that on a daily basis when you're not feeling like enough? When you have a history maybe of even in your childhood of being told maybe you're not enough. You're not doing it right. I know probably I'm the only one here that had that childhood, right? That makes us stronger. If you choose and you're at choice, you can say, thank you for that. I'm at choice to experience something different. And guess what? That's your perception. Even parents have perception. Imagine that. Parents have perception, and they have judgment. And it's our place, when I listen to Michael, this is something that I have recently heard from Michael a lot. And he says it so much to me, I realize that I must say this a lot and not aware of it. I'll say something, I'll say, oh, I'm sorry. And he puts his arm around me and he says, don't be sorry. My teenage son tells me, don't be sorry. I've been sorry a lot in my life. I know you have too. That is the divine pattern of releasing all of our pain, all of the untruths about who we are, and realizing that we are the sacred geometry. We are the individual unity of the unified state. We can't help but be perfect. We just have to believe it. And there are times when I don't believe it. There are times, you know, when you're up here, people look at you and they think, you've got it all together. Right? Okay, well, I know you don't, but, you know, I mean, some people do. Or they come to you, you know, I mean, there are times where, and I have had to set some boundaries, but where my phone would ring until 12 at night, 7 days a week. And at some point I had to say, okay, I either need to have some self-care and family care, or I'm gonna be a case. I'm gonna fall apart. But there have been many times where I have felt not enough, where I have felt like a failure, where I felt like I can't do this. I gotta tell you, the first service we had here, and this is not my first time around, right? I mean, I've been doing this for a number of years. I looked out and I went, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. What was I thinking? I can't show up for this. Who's going to want to do this with me? Isn't that interesting? But we have, in the last 6 months, what have we done? We have built such a community of love and unity. And I stand up here now, and I think, that's right, I didn't do this. I did not do this. We did this. That's the unitive state. When you think you're alone, and you think you can't do it, look around at your brothers and sisters. You're not alone. And you're right, you probably can't do it alone, because you've never done anything alone. You've always had Spirit with you. You've always had your guides and your guardians. But feeling not enough, that's a muscle that you can build, right? Anybody ever try to lift weights? First time you're like, oh yeah, pump me up, I can do this. And you're like, oh God, right? What do? You do it a little at a time, and you build your muscle a little at a time. And it happens over time. And then somebody, what is that called? They spot you, right? Mm-hmm. You have somebody, I can't believe I remembered that, that was so good. So you have somebody, they're spotting you, so you're not alone. You're not alone in your endeavors. You're not alone in your patterns. Aloneness is a thought, that's a lie. It's also a choice. When you feel really alone, it's a choice. Because all you have to do is reach outside of yourself. How many people are there in the world? 6.5 billion or something like that? Are you kidding me? You are not alone. But it takes something within you to reach out and to grab onto something and become part of the sacred pattern. First of all, you've got to get out of that room. That's the room of untruths. And you got to do that by, what do I say, direct practice, right? That is the hardest thing. Get out of your thoughts and into action. And that's what God is. God is potential, and you are potential realized. You are God in action. Have you ever thought about that? Spirit in action. That's amazing. That's also a tremendous, not only opportunity, but a tremendous, what do we want to call that? Responsibility. It's a tremendous responsibility once you are aware of who you are and what your place is in the world. I have to tell you, there are people that I have counseled, and I've said this before, maybe even last time, that really have struggled. And I watch them, and they are doing their direct practice, and they have turned their lives around, and they have become, I mean, they're always amazing, but some of the things that they've done, it's just amazing. They are standing on their own 2 feet, their back straight, their head high, and they're not only doing it for themselves, now they're becoming leaders in their community. They're helping others. It's amazing. When you find your own strength within you, your own sacred pattern within you, then you can start to share that with others. What do I say, students? I say, it's not all about you, right? And then when you go through, after time, what do I say?
It's all about you.
It's all about you. It's both. It's not about you, and it's all about you. Because you're having the individualized experience, right? So it's all about you. But you are part of the unity, so it's not all about you. And there is only what? What's the number? One, right? Yeah, that's crazy, because how many times do we say this, say this, say this? But how do we experience that? That is nothing. That is, that's beautiful to think about. That means nothing to me unless I can experience it. It's got to get out of here and into here and into here. And that's why, this is why Sacred Space can have a food basket for people in sacred space. Do you know how many spiritual centers, God bless, have baskets? But it's for not the people in their own community. Now, this is for anybody who wants to walk through the door and has a need. You know that we go out and we do a lot with the homeless. But if we can't suspend judgment within our own community, then there's something wrong with our direct practice. I should be able to walk over there and take something out of there if I need it. That's the way that is. That's the direct practice. There should be no shame in community. And we should build that pattern together, that pattern of love, and empower each other. It's not about handouts, it's about hand-ups, right? If you're the one that's standing today, figure out who's sitting, figure out who's on their knees, and help that sacred pattern get strong and get unified. Okay, that's what I wanted to talk about. That's what I wanted to get to. When I experienced it, and others did Friday night, and there's almost 40 people in that class. And I gotta tell you, the seats were like this. And someone said to me, when I talked about the class and how many were in it, oh, you can't do intuitive practice and make it meaningful with 40 people.
Well, apparently they can't.
And I looked at them and I said, you ever taught that before with 40 people? How would you know? How would you know? And you know what? I don't have that belief system. It doesn't matter where there's 100 people in there. There's only one. And I do say things like, don't do sidebars. Keep your attention here. I do things like that. And then we laugh and we do other things. But at the end of 2 hours with some people being perfect strangers to each other, we were crying, we had our hearts open. The psychic work that came out of that was amazing. Amazing. Because why? We were one energy. We did it as one. And our attention was one. And when we do that in our lives, we can be part of this divine flower of life. If you've never seen the sacred geometry of the flower of life, please look it up. It is amazing. The beginning of fertilization, the embryo, the sacred 8, it looks like also the sacred flower of life. It's just gorgeous. And so there's nothing that isn't intentional in this universe. Nothing is unintentional. Everything that's happening has a purpose. We just may not know what it is. We may not know what that pattern is. So what do we need to do? Suspend judgment, right? Judgment does not get you anywhere. The first thing I talk about with students when they come in is the difference between judgment and discernment. You need discernment. You need to know left from right. You need to know when to go right and when to go left. But when somebody else is going right or left, and you have an opinion about that, that's called judgment. And that's not your business, right? We are all dancing our own dance here. And we're a very eclectic community. In some ways, we're kind of the island of misfits. You know what I mean? It's like people who may not feel real comfortable somewhere else. And, if you need service to be a certain way, you probably won't stay here, right? You'll probably need to leave because you're used to having something look a certain way. We're always going to be kind of off the edge with that. It doesn't matter. Whatever shows up is what's meant to show up. Whether it's tears, whether it's laughter, whether it's like, oh my God, did she just say that? Yeah. So, don't let other people's opinion interrupt your pattern. What they think about you is none of your business. Love them anyway. Oh my gosh, if I had to worry about that, I'd be in a cave right now over the last few years. Rebecca too. Many of us, right? I mean, listen. What do I say? I say, if you're not putting me in bed, and I'm not going to be over worried about what you think about me. So, well, Bruce doesn't really put me to bed and kiss my head, but I kind of like to think what he thinks is important. So,
For the record.
for the record, because we're on, we're on. So remember that if you're feeling off kilter, you are not listening to your divine voice. You have other voices inside of you, and they don't belong there. Whether they're your parents, whether they're, your friends, whether they're strangers, whoever it is, they don't belong there. Get them out and just love them. Okay, so let's take a nice deep breath. That's right. We're going to start to get ready to go into meditation. You've always been enough. You have always been full of the light. There's never been a time that you were not the light. Let's just imagine for a moment that every cell in your body is like a big old beam of light. And it's going to shine out every pore in your skin. Take a moment with me and just imagine that. As you do that, notice how your energy begins to raise. You might start to feel your feet vibrate a little bit. Maybe the top of your head tingle a little bit. As all of that light and love flows through you and flows out you into this room. And then you are getting the energy of everyone else's light. Everyone else's love. Let that inform you. Let that be your sacred pattern. Move in the world as you really are. The most divine idea ever thought. You are that important. It doesn't get more thoughtful than you. All of the greatest, all of the best is what you are. Every cell in your body, the way your body moves, the way your mind thinks is perfect for your individual pattern in the universe. You are needed. The way you are is needed. That's the design. That's how important you are. Feel the love and stop trying to change who you really are, because you don't get more perfect than you. All you need to do is remember how divine you are. God does not think in error. God does not have a wrong thought. And you are the divine thought of God. Spirit, Creator, does not make a mistake. Please stop checking on that. Please stop doubting that. Please start accepting your divinity and how beautiful you are. and how loving and how much you have the capacity to give more to yourself and to others. Suspend your judgment about everything. Replace it with love. And if that's okay, take a nice deep breath. Raise the light a little bit higher. Let it wash over you. Let your love wash over you. Everyone else's love in this room wash over you. And the divine grace wash over you. Thank you for being you and being so perfect. Spirit loves you. I love you. We love each other. And so that is. Take a nice deep breath. Slowly bring yourself back into the room. Very slowly. And now with your eyes slowly opening, let's stay in that meditative state with our eyes being soft. And I'd like you to take a moment and look down at your hands. Look at how perfect you are, all the things you've done with your hands. You can trust when you look at your hands what you're doing. Know your mind as well as your hands. Watch your mind like you watch your hands. You can rely on that. Be thoughtful with your actions. Be gentle with yourself. Nice deep breath. Coming all the way back into the room. That's good. Now when you go out today, we're going to have a closing song, but when you go out today, I want you to remember that you are so beautiful. You are so perfect. How about we're all perfect, aren't we? Yes. Okay. Spirit. Woo! Shine on us as we shine outward. And let us remember this week, we are your biggest and best thought. And so it is. Amen. Have a beautiful week, everyone. Let's have some social time.